There are several sounds that only exist in the Arabic language, making it both unique and challenging for learners to master pronunciation. There are similar sounds like this that also exist in Hebrew and in Aramaic, both cousin languages of Arabic, and both of which are still spoken today. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to episode 4, where we will look at the remaining letters of the Arabic alphabet that give the language such a distinctive sound. Here in lesson 7, we will look at the difficult letters. Here are the difficult letters in their isolated forms with their names and sound values in English. Ha, kha, sad, dad, ta, va, ain, ghain, and qaf. Actually, we've seen the first two in a previous episode, but we're looking at them again here for the sake of completeness. The first letter in this series is the letter Ha. If one is surprised, feeling triumphant or suspicious, one could exclaim, Ha! In which we could hear an extra puff of air from the tightening of the throat muscles. The same sound may also be heard when you accidentally eat some chili peppers for the first time and you'd say, hot, hot, hot. Also, Ahmad or Muhammad are two names that have this sound. We can look at them in the initial position, medial, and final positions. The first example is the word for letter, harf. The word for magic, sihr. And the word for happiness is farah. The second letter is kha. This is the classic sound found in the Scottish word loch, which means lake, or in the German word ich, which means the first person pronoun I. We also find them in the initial, medial, and final positions. The examples for you now are the word for news, which is khabar, the word for person, which is shakhs, and the word for scholar, or a respect for, or as a title of respect for an older person, shaykh. The next four letters may be grouped together, and we can call them the cave letters, because of the space that we need to make in the mouth when pronouncing them. There is usually a swallowing motion involved, where the lower jaw, the tongue, and the throat go down, but with minimal movement from the mouth. This movement is quite similar to the one you make when you want to clear your throat. So the throat, the jaw, the tongue moves down. And you might need to exaggerate the movements at first in order to practice this sound. The first of this is the letter sad. The letter sad is considered the most unique of all sounds in Arabic. It's so unusual that the Arabic language is sometimes called the language of sad. This letter affects the following vowels and gives them a rounded quality. So comparing with the normal S sound, we have sa, but with sad, si, si, and su, su. We find this also in the initial position, the medial, and the final position. We have the word for summer, which is saif, the word for origin, which is asl, and the word for cage, which is qafas. The next letter is the letter dad, which is similar to the previous letter. We can attempt to produce this sound by making a cave inside the mouth. The tip of the tongue stays in contact with the upper front teeth, while allowing the air to escape from the sides of the tongue. This is difficult for most foreign speakers. This sound also gives a rounded sound quality to any of the following vowels. So you'd have da, di, and du. We also find this in the initial position, the medial, and the final position. The word for guest, which is daif, the word for favor, which is fadl, and the word for land, which is ard. The next letter, which is ta, is similar to the previous letter. We let the tip of the tongue touch the back of the upper teeth and let the air pass through both sides of the tongue. And the following vowels will also sound rounded. So we have pa, pi, and pu. We have the word for plate, which is tabaq. We have the word for rain, which is matar. And we have the word for center, which is wasat. The following letter, which is dawah, is quite similar in production, like the common th sound in English. However, we must always create this cave-like space inside the mouth. So there's also a lowering of the tongue, the jaw, and part of the throat. We also find this in an initial position, the medial position, and the final position. An example for the initial position is the word for midday, which is bor, the word for bone, which is azma, and the word in the final position, summer heat, which is qayth. Qayth. This is quite difficult even for me as of now. The next letter, ayn, is found by many non-native Arabic speakers to be very confusing because most of the time they consider this to be a vowel sound when in fact it's a consonant sound. This produces a choking sound that is also unique to the Arabic language. So we have a, we have a, and we have u. Initial position we have the word for necklace, which is aqd. In the medial position we have the word for promise, which is wa'ad. And in final position the word for plural, which is jam'a. And now we have another unique sound, the sound of ghain. This sound is close to the Parisian R, like in the words rouge for red, farine for flour, and froid for cold. It is a gargling sound produced at the back of the throat. In the initial position we have an example, the word for room, which is ghurfa. In the medial position the word for work, which is shughul. And in the final position the word for adult, which is baligh. The last letter in this series is the letter qaf. When pronouncing this letter, one needs to pull back the tongue and it blocks the air further back. And this one also produces rounded vowel sounds. Similarly, it's found in the initial position, medial position, and final position. For the initial position, we have the word for qatn, which is in fact qutun, the word for time, which is waqt, and the word for lightning, which is barq. I hope you will take time to practice these difficult letters. That's all for now. In the next episode, we will try to compare these difficult letters with the normal sounding pairs, inshallah. Please don't forget to find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So, until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.